The massive crystalline chamber of the Galactic Council fell into stunned silence as Ambassador Elena Rodriguez stood up from her seat, her simple black diplomatic uniform a stark contrast to the elaborate ceremonial robes and biomechanical suits surrounding her. The holographic translation matrix flickered with confused static as hundreds of different species tried to process what they had just heard. Did the human just refuse? Wheezed Chancellor Kethmore through his methane-breathing apparatus, his tentacles writhing in disbelief. High Counselor Ixel Thapper's compound eyes focused and refocused as she leaned forward on her crystalline perch. In 3,000 years of recorded galactic diplomacy, no species has ever rejected a council mediation offer. It's unprecedented. Ambassador Rodriguez remained standing, her hands clasped behind her back, in a gesture that the council's behavioral analysts had labeled as defiantly calm. Her brown eyes swept across the amphitheater, where representatives from 847 different worlds watched her with a mixture of confusion, outrage, and fascination. Perhaps there was a translation error, suggested Prime Minister Zolvak, his bioluminescent patches pulsing nervously. The human linguistic matrix is notoriously primitive. Surely she meant to accept our generous offer to resolve the Kepler 442b territorial dispute. Rodriguez's lips curved into what humans called a smile, an expression that had been causing anxiety among alien diplomats for decades. There was no translation error, Prime Minister. Earth's position is clear. We reject the Council's mediation. We will handle this matter ourselves. The chamber erupted into chaos. Delegates began speaking simultaneously in hundreds of different languages, creating a cacophony that overwhelmed the translation systems. Some species changed colors in agitation. Others released pheromones that triggered atmospheric warnings, and a few simply fainted. Senator Crix Alter of the Andromedan Trade Federation slammed his forearms on his desk. This is madness. The dispute involves 7 different species, 4 star systems, and mining rights worth more than the gross product of the entire Sol system. How can one primitive world possibly resolve this alone? Primitive? Rodriguez raised an eyebrow, another human gesture that had become infamous in diplomatic circles. Senator, with respect, humans have been resolving complex disputes for thousands of years. We've developed rather sophisticated methods. Sophisticated methods? High Counselor Ixel Thapper's voice dripped with skepticism. Your species still engages in something called warfare. You solve disputes by hitting each other. Sometimes, Rodriguez admitted with that unsettling human smile. But we've also developed other approaches. Negotiation, compromise, creative problem-solving. We've found that the Council's methods, while thorough, tend to be rather limiting. Chancellor Kethmore's tentacles twisted into what his species considered an expression of extreme confusion. Limiting? The Council's mediation protocol is the product of millennia of refinement. It accounts for every possible variable, every cultural sensitivity, every legal precedent. It is perfection itself. And that's exactly the problem, Rodriguez said, beginning to pace a movement that caused several security drones to activate. Your protocol is so perfect, so comprehensive, so utterly predictable that everyone knows exactly what the outcome will be before you even begin. The stronger party gets 60% of the disputed territory. The weaker party gets 40%. Everyone pays mediation fees, and the Council takes a modest percentage for administrative costs. The silence that followed was deafening. Several delegates' breathing apparatus could be heard whirring as they processed this observation. But that ensures fairness, stammered Prime Minister Zolvak. It eliminates bias, prevents war, maintains stability. It also eliminates creativity, Rodriguez countered. It removes the possibility of finding solutions that benefit everyone. It treats every dispute as if it were identical to the last 1,000 disputes. She gestured toward the holographic display, showing the Kepler 442b system. 7 species want mining rights to one planet. Your protocol will divide the planet into 7 sectors. Assign them based on a complex formula involving military strength, economic power, and historical precedent. 3 species will get profitable sectors, 3 will get marginal ones, and 1 will get nothing. Everyone will be mildly dissatisfied, but it will be fair. And your alternative is? High Counselor Ixel Thapa demanded. Rodriguez's smile widened. We find out why everyone wants to mine that particular planet. We analyze what they're actually looking for. We explore whether there might be other ways to meet those needs that don't require carving up one world. Senator Crix-Alter made a sound that the translator rendered as derisive laughter. Naive human optimism. There are finite resources and infinite wants. Mathematics dictates scarcity. Mathematics also dictates that creative solutions can transcend apparent limitations, Rodriguez replied. For instance, our preliminary analysis suggests that 4 of the 7 species want rare earth elements, 2 want energy sources, and 1 wants a strategic location. What if we could provide alternatives that give everyone more than they originally asked for? The chamber fell silent again, but this time, the silence felt different, thoughtful, rather than shocked. Impossible, Chancellor Kethmore whispered. We've identified 6 other systems with superior rare earth deposits that are currently unclaimed. We've developed technology that can provide sustainable energy generation that doesn't require mining. And we can offer strategic partnerships that provide better positioning than any single planet could. But the precedent? Prime Minister Zolvak protested. If word spreads that disputes can be resolved outside the council system, it could destabilize the entire galactic order. Rodriguez nodded gravely. Yes, it could. It could lead to a galaxy where beings actually talk to each other instead of submitting to bureaucratic formulas. Where conflicts are seen as opportunities for creativity rather than problems to be processed. Where solutions benefit everyone instead of satisfying no one. High Counselor Ixel Thapa's compound eyes fixed on the human ambassador. And if your creative approach fails, if these species end up at war because they couldn't agree on your innovative solutions, then they'll have a war worth fighting, Rodriguez said quietly. Instead of a peace worth nothing. The chamber erupted again, but this time the chaos was different. Delegates weren't just expressing outrage, they were debating, questioning, considering. Some were pulling up data about their own unresolved disputes, wondering what alternatives might exist. Senator Crix-Alter leaned back in his chair, his forearms crossed. You realize what you're proposing? You're suggesting that thousands of years of diplomatic evolution have been moving in the wrong direction. Not the wrong direction, Rodriguez corrected. Just one direction. Evolution requires variation, experimentation, the possibility of failure. Your system has eliminated all of those things. It's not evolution, it's stagnation. As the debate continued around her, Rodriguez sat back down, her expression calm but alert. Through her earpiece, she could hear her assistant's voice. Ambassador, Earth Command is monitoring. The council is split. Some species are calling for your immediate expulsion. Others want to know more about your alternative proposals. She touched her communication implant discreetly. Tell Earth Command that we're committed to our course. And remind them that the best diplomacy happens when everyone leaves the table slightly confused but intrigued. High Counselor Ixel Thapa raised her ceremonial staff, calling for order. Ambassador Rodriguez, the council will need time to process your unprecedented request. We will reconvene in 7 standard days. As the session adjourned, and delegates began filing out in animated clusters. Rodriguez noticed something she hadn't expected. Several alien diplomats were approaching her, their expressions curious rather than hostile. The first to reach her was a young vegan negotiator whose silver skin was flushed with excitement. "Ambassador, my species has been locked in a resource dispute with our neighbors for 30 years. The Council's solution would barely satisfy anyone. Could your methods work for us?" Rodriguez smiled, that dangerous human expression that had just changed the course of galactic history. "That depends. Are you willing to ask questions that have never been asked before?" As more delegates gathered around her, Rodriguez realized that Earth had just done something far more significant than reject a mediation offer. They had introduced the most radical concept the galaxy had seen in millennia, the possibility that there might be a better way. And sometimes, the most shocking thing a diplomat can do is simply suggest that the impossible might be worth attempting.